So, this is our next installment. We are talking about branding today. I am joined with,
Katrina Gordon.
and I'm Emmanuel Wilder. And today we're going to talk about how important it is to communicate your MOS experience and your professional brand as an asset on the job interview. Again, all these pieces align to make sure you can really present your best self. And today we're going to talk about some tools and strategies in order for you to do that. We're going to be talking about the value of MOS, okay, what that looks like, the power of your brand. These are the talking points we're going to get through today. And then we're going to talk about why and how companies need you on their team. Again, the importance of your veteran status and how valuable that really is. So we're going to walk through all these and we're excited to share these resources with you. First up is Miss Gordon.
All right, the value of MOS. So we know MOS stands for Military Occupational Specialty. We also know that each branch does not necessarily use that acronym, so we're going to be interchanging that with the job code. All right, so what your job code or MOS was when you were in the military. The first thing you need to do is elaborate. You want to be able to very succinctly tell the person that you are doing the interview with what that job was, what it entailed, how well you performed it, all right? And then the final piece is you want to be able to connect the dots with the things, the skills that you developed while doing your MOS or your job skill and how it translates to that company and specifically to the position that you are applying for. All right, so I'm going to use myself as an example. When I was in the Army, I was a 42 Fox. All right, and that stands for Army Human Resources Information Systems Management Specialist. Very long, right? Okay, but for short, 42 Fox, and I was a human resources specialist. All right, and what I did was operate and manage information systems for field personnel. So anyone who was outside of the office, in the field, overseas, etc. I received, reviewed, analyzed, processed, distributed, and maintained all personnel files and supporting documentation. Now, here is how we connect the dots. With the MOS code that I just gave you, the description of what that job code means, and then what I did, we want to connect the dots. Here are the skills that are most important if I were to be applying for a human resources position. All right, I operated and managed, reviewed, distributed, analyzed, processed human resources files. This connects the dots from my military occupational specialty or my job code and helps the interviewer understand how these skills specifically will benefit that company and the position that I am applying for.
Okay, great. And in alignment with that, we also want to talk about our brand, okay, what that means and how it matters. So, first thing, to understand a brand is simply just understanding what a company gets when they get you. That's really all it is. Every product you can think of, every organization that comes to mind, they all have a brand. They all have this message or this experience they want to get across. Our brands, our own unique identities need to also get across, okay? We need to look at ourselves as little tiny companies, as little small entities, and what messages are we sending? So, one quick exercise you can do right now is sit down and think about three words that come to mind when others may think about you. So, for example, if you're a very quick learner and you do things at a fast pace, one of the words might be, quick learner. So that might be one of the phrases that come to mind when others are thinking about you. That's part of what your brand would be. We're not in a room together to do this in a classroom setting, but I think it makes sense if you guys just, think about how others are perceiving you. Some of you guys might be a little more analytical. You might think things through a little more. So people might say, about you, hey, you are very thoughtful, whatever it is, but think about those words and just try to come up with three. And these are the words that you think people feel when they hear your name. Now, one exercise we like to do is this whole picture's worth 1,000 words. So I want you to just take a minute to look at all 11 people on this screen. And what we're going to do is try to figure out their brand. Okay, we're going to try to figure out the messages that are being emitted through this photograph. So first question you might want to ask yourself is, what industry do these folks work in? All right. Next one you might want to ask, who is the boss? Again, we don't know. There are no wrong or right answers, but just look at the way the people are positioned and look at their expressions and their demeanors. All this stuff lends itself to uncovering a brand. Who is the hardest worker? You might say, I don't know, Mr. Wilder. There's no way to tell that. There always is a way to tell it. Picture's worth 1,000 words. We're going to figure a few out. Who is the serious person? Okay. Again, number 5 and number 8, they look very different. So who's the serious person? Who's the most shy? Who do you think is the smartest? Again, this is just perception. We don't know. But we are just making assumptions based off of appearance, because this is teaching us to delve deeper into what our brands are. Which person would you hire out of this group? All right, just by looks alone, just by posture, okay, just by presentation, who would you hire? And finally, I want you to imagine you were in the picture yourself. And of course, we put you in a nice suit like these people are wearing. What would we say about you? Will we vote you as one of these things that have come up? All right, so branding is kind of like that. It's the emotions, the experience, and the messages that people get when they think about you. We always want to send positive, reinforcing images and messages and presentation when we are talking about ourselves. So I want you to ask yourself the following. Okay? What messages am I sending? We're sending messages every single day at all times, okay? Make sure when you're in front of an employer, and make sure when you're on that interview, you're sending the right kinds of messages. How do others respond to me? Notice how people are reacting to you when you walk into a room. There's only two emotions that people get when you leave a room. Either they're happy you're gone or they're sad you're gone. We want folks to be sad that our presence is not felt. How do I want to be seen? Again, that's really what a brand is all about. McDonald's has a brand. Coca-Cola wants to be seen a certain way. Coca-Cola wants to be seen very differently than Budweiser. They have a different product. They want to appeal to a different group. Who do you want to appeal to? And then finally, what's your perspective, okay? How you see the world and how that adds value on your interview. So, Katrina?
Why your veteran status matters to companies. So we talked a little bit about me having a bit of an HR background, and so this is something that I have some firsthand experience really on both sides. I am a veteran, and I've also worked in human resources to understand how veterans really benefit a company. All right. And so most of that value that we have really comes in those skills that we developed in the military. So in the Army, we had an acronym for leadership. It stood for loyalty, determination, responsibility, selfless service, honor, integrity, and personal courage. These were things that were instilled in us while we were in the military, and they mean so much to civilian companies. These are things that a normal civilian might not be built with. They did not endure some of the things that we endured in training or in our active service that really fortifies our character and makes a difference when we come to a company. So this is why your veteran status really matters. In addition to what you can do with your hands or with your mind or working on a team, that character enhanced ability that you have, that you develop through the Army, is a gold star, a gold status to a company. The other point is that there are just some people that need to be staffed in companies. Okay, so they have to have a certain number of veterans, they have to have a certain number of females, they have to have a certain number of disabled workers to show that they hold equity at their company. And so it's important that you get yourself out there as a veteran, you claim your veteran status while you are applying to these companies. And a lot of companies, as you know, give a veteran preference. So you get extra points. You get put to the top of the candidate list because of that veteran status. Your veteran status absolutely matters to companies. And so that is something that you have to take with you in that interview when you go to interview. All right?
Perfect. And just to wrap some things up, these are some resources you are free to use to really kind of highlight and reinforce the messages that Ms. Gordon and myself, Mr. Wilder, have shared with you. So I think these are really helpful. So again, thank you all for your time, and go get hired.